Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Gaming with me, Tony Mo, and today we're going to talk about snipers. Recon, sniper rifles, sniping, whatever you want to call it in the million different ways that it's represented in the world of gaming. Not just in multiplayer, but in cooperative and in single player. And really, I mean, the main focus of this discussion is going to be the impact of the sniper role on multiplayer gameplay experiences, but I am going to back up my love for that role, you know, with how well it's represented in certain single player and cooperative experiences. And I think that's a good place to start, is that, you know, snipers are a very mystical thing, I think, you know, and not just in video games, but in history. And that's sort of been carried over into video games, you know, going back, looking at, you know, people like Vasily Snitsov and Carlos Hathcock, you know, I mean, just legendary snipers. Obviously, most recently, the American sniper, you know, I mean, it's a very mystical role. It has a lot of interest. There's just a lot of people who are really into it. You know, whether you're like a war or history aficionado or not, like there's just something about that role, and it's very much been represented in video games for an extremely long time. I mean, you know, going back to like, you know, the AWP and Counter-Strike, and you know, obviously even before that, there's just been a lot of video games in a competitive single player and cooperative space that have had snipers in some way, and they've all done their own job of representing them. But really what I want to talk about is how that role, in my opinion, has sort of been, I don't really know how to say this without, I mean, it's going to offend a lot of people. People are going to disagree. That's fine. This is my opinion. You don't have to agree with it. But I think personally, it's been sort of an illness on the multiplayer scene. Games like Battlefield, specifically, I think snipers and the way that they're handled in that game are something that are done very poorly. I think there was a time when they worked, maybe going back to like Bad Company 2, when you first saw the introduction of bullet drop. But I think since then, they've sort of lost their way, and they're a role that is definitely just more of an illness. They're a plague, I guess would be the best way to put it, on other people's enjoyment. I mean, there's no other role, in my opinion, in a game, multiplayer-wise, that really is just like the destructive enjoyment tool. Like, the sniper is that role. It is really great at ruining other people's good times. I mean, there's just no other way about it. When I look at a game like Battlefield, for example, I think, like, Battlefield, you know, for me, is about the Battlefield moments. And Battlefield moments very rarely revolve around a sniper being involved. They're the moment where your team, you know, pushes an objective or a flag at the last moment and eliminates something like a tank, and there's just this great sense of coordination and an amazing firefight. Within that whole situation, there is at no given point the inclusion of a sniper doing anything for me that, you know, calls that to be a Battlefield moment. My thoughts of Battlefield with sniper rifles are more along the line of, hey, that guy's just camped out on that rooftop and he's just going to ruin our days because he's just going to constantly pick us off. He's not helping his team push forward. He's not actually stopping us from capturing the objective. He's just causing this stalemate of enjoyment where no one is really having a good time because we're just endlessly being harassed. Now, I don't think every multiplayer experience poorly represents the sniper role. I think games that allow the sniper to be chosen as a power weapon or a pickup on the map are often the ones that best represent it. And they make it more of a small moment-to-moment challenge rather than a constant within the gameplay. Battlefield is definitely not one of those games, but however, if you look at like something like Halo or Gears of War, something where the sniper rifle is sort of considered a power weapon and a pickup that the team often rushes for to help obtain kills or defend a flag or support the team in some way, it becomes that support role that it is originally recognized as. And to me, that, you know, is an enhancer. Is it still an annoying role to be killed by? Yeah, I mean, that's just kind of the point of the sniper at that point. You know, I think that is always going to be preserved. But I think Battlefield and Halo and Gears of War, as I said, they better handle the situation, and they make it more of just a small task. You know, not to mention at that point, there's one sniper on either team, or perhaps one sniper rifle that the team is fighting over. You don't have a team of 5 or 6 sniper rifles, which was why in my brain, you know, in my head, there was always the simple question of, why hasn't DICE just simply said there's a limited number of snipers, of recons, that you can actually have on your team? Games like Red Orchestra have done that for the longest time. Insurgency does that. You know, there's a limit to each type of specific class. I think that the sniper is the only one in Battlefield that, you know, could be limited, and I think there could be huge benefits to the enjoyment of the gameplay for everyone if the game went and did something like that. But that's kind of my thoughts on it from a multiplayer perspective, right? Not every game handles it poorly. I don't think the Battlefield franchise always has. But for the most part, I look at that role as a plague on people's enjoyment. I think that close quarters to medium range long firefights that force players to use tactics rather than just picking the weapon that can outrange another player are what cause and create really great gameplay moments. They create those Battlefield moments. They create great firefight moments, something that there isn't enough of inside of multiplayer shooters. It's why I'm very excited for a game like Rainbow Six Siege, which, you know, is purely close quarters combat. A lot of people look at that game and they're like, oh, it's like Call of Duty and blah blah. And no, I don't see that. I see a game that has cut out the bullshit and it said, this is all about firefights, it's about teamwork, it's fast, it's furious, it's not slow and sluggish and methodical, as people want to call it. It is, though, it's thought out, it's quick, it's adrenaline pumping, and if you're going to win, it's going to require some of the fastest teamwork that you'll ever probably do or communicate to the other members of your team, and I am all over that. Like, I love that idea. I'm a huge fan of that, and I can't wait for that game because of that. But the game that you've been seeing this whole time is freaking Arma 3, of course. And I did want to talk about the sniper role in Arma 3 because I think Arma 3 is a great representation of a game where the sniper role, the sniper rifle, can be twisted in many different fashions. It can be something that is a very useful tool to your team in a PvE setting. It can be something that is infinitely annoying in a PvP setting. Just like I said, I think it's one of the worst things that Wasteland ever did was allow sniper rifle purchases, especially back in the days of Arma 2. It was nothing, like I said, once again, but a plague on people's enjoyment. However, in a PvE setting, I think there's a lot of ways that this weapon system can be really beneficial, and a lot of ways that it can ruin everybody's experience. And I want to use a prime example of that. You know, this single player mission that you're seeing here, this is the Marksman Showcase. Obviously, it works great. You're on your own, you're outnumbered. The rifle allows you to have some sort of a level playing field with the AI, and it makes for a really great little mission. However, you throw this into something like DUWS, which is Dynamic Universal War System. It has an automated enemy camp spawning system, and you basically go in with a group of friends and you eliminate targets. Back when Praxis was playing this, there was a huge split in our team, right? We had two squads. The one squad was the squad that said, listen, we recognize sniper rifles are just bullshit in this, and everyone's just going to sit 40 feet, 400 meters out and just kill everything. That's not fun. Like, we don't care about that. We want to get in some great firefights with the AI. So we went in with rifles. And at the end of the day, we would end up like 10, 15 kills, a lot of deaths, but a lot of really great moments. A lot of stuff that can be seen over on Drevin, one of our members' YouTube channel. He would just throw small stuff up. I'll actually link his channel down below. Just go check out some of the ridiculous moments. He saved a lot of them over the course of the existence of Praxis, and as well as when we were in a different organization. But just really funny moments that were only created because we were all running around with rifles. There's a few times where we had sniper rifles, yeah, you know, we gave it a go, but a lot of those great moments, you know, driving through the forest in a 4x4 just to get nuked by a fire team on the other side of the woods, all because we were using, you know, close quarters rifles. There's just a lot of fun there. But the other team, the other squad, would go out with sniper rifles and they end up with like 100 kills, 50 kills, and eventually we all stopped playing DUWS. Obviously no one with the sniper rifle squads was actually having a good time just racking up kills. It was just a chicken shoot. It's not a good time. Now the other side of it was when we started doing Zeus. You know, when you start talking about Zeus and you start even implementing AI snipers into the mix, the sniper is, you know, it's a battlefield advantage. It's like an airstrike. It's known for that. It's why they've taken some of the most important targets in history out. It's why they've brought down, you know, practically entire platoons, entire armies with just well-positioned fire. I mean, you look at the stories of like Carlos Hathcock and the guys in Fallujah and some of the things that they held off with one rifle and a spotter, or even sometimes alone. It's amazing. It's a very close to unstoppable force. You know, back in the days, they talked about some of those legendary Soviet snipers and the German snipers, they only killed them by bringing down the buildings they were inside of. You know, just crazy stuff. And that very much applies, you know, in a PvE setting when you have an AI character that is 1,000 meters out that is able to engage your team. They're not going to be able to see him. The chances of them spotting him on a hill are like second to none. You have to give them some sort of an advantage. And even then, I found that just not enjoyable. There was one mission I ever did like that, and a lot of people hated it. and a lot of people were really upset about it. And I remember people apologizing to me, saying, you know, sorry for being so pissed. But I heard their feedback. Like, it was boring. It was bullshit. It was not a good time. And, you know, it's just another lesson learned in how the sniper rifle role can affect people's enjoyment. So that's something that I've always been very limiting on when I did Zeus back in the day. And just in any PvE experience, you know, inside of Arma, I like to avoid it. You know, like, if I'm going to give it to somebody, or if we're going to acquire one, I usually say, no, like, you know, don't give us an actual sniper. Don't give us, like, the LRR. Give us, you know, a DMR, you know, some sort of a battle rifle that just has, you know, an extended scope. You know, give us that sort of marksman role, not that sniper role. You know, give us the support role, the guy who just has an M4 with an extended barrel and like an ACOG, you know. We don't need any more than that, considering everyone else is running around with, you know, like red dots and iron sights. There's a very good reason that when you look at, you know, something like Shack Tactical, you know, Dyslexy, very heavily against scopes, because again, you know, it's not fun. What's fun are those firefights, those crazy intense moments, you know, those iron sight and red dot engagements. That's where it's at. And I think a lot of people understand that. And there's always going to be people who are like all about sniping. And that's fine, you know, if you enjoy that, that's okay. But I think the next time you're in some sort of a team play environment, you're playing something like Project Reality, you're playing something like Battlefield, stop and think for a moment on how it's affecting other people's enjoyment. This has turned into like this really sort of philosophical discussion about sniper rifles. And you know what? I'm okay with that. And I think that, like, you know, if you want that sniper fix, you know, there's lots of great single player games for that. There's tons of ways you can experience it inside of something like Arma on a single player level, and that is, that's awesome. You know, I mean, that is, the games like that exist. You have the Sniper Elite franchise, you know, they're all fantastic. And I'm not saying that snipers can't be a good time inside of PvE environments, and this is kind of the last thing I want to talk about, is that player choice. You know, we very well could have just had one sniper back in the days when we played DUWS. And there's been moments where, you know, I've given a squad one sniper rifle with very little ammunition and said, you know, this is your point. The point of having this rifle system and that person using that is to eliminate this target. And usually I didn't have to then tell them, like, don't just kill everything in the area, because I could overnumb them. I could overwhelm them and say, you know, I'm going to make it so that sniper rifle is not beneficial in this situation. They're going to get ambushed. You know, this is not going to be something that helps them out unless they choose to use it in a cooperative manner. You know, they tell this person, hey, cover us while we push in, cover us while we do this. And we've done missions like that with night vision and thermal scopes. And that is where that role, you know, starts to come into place as being something that can enhance enjoyment rather than destroy it. So I'm not eliminating it, you know, forever from the existence of video games and saying, don't include it, it's terrible. But I think there are games that could benefit from some sort of a restriction on that class. And I think Battlefield 4, you know, I've used it kind of an example throughout the course of this video. I think it's a game that very much so could use some sort of a game mode or a system where there's a limited number of recon classes allowed per team. A lot of people think I'm crazy when I say that, but honestly, Insurgency does that. Red Orchestra has done that. You know, you don't have 55 snipers on your team. You have one or possibly two at that. And I love that idea. And I think that it's something that game developers need to take into consideration a little bit more when they start building multiplayer experiences that involve snipers. So to give it just kind of a closing, don't get me wrong, I'm completely all over the mystique of the sniper class. You know, I've been there, I've loved it, I think it has a place. But as I said, just kind of consider, you know, are you helping people have a good time while you play? And I know a lot of people are going to say to me, I really don't care about that, I don't care about myself, and that's fine. But to me, the moments when I have the most fun in a multiplayer experience or in a cooperative experience is when the people around me are also having fun. And I think that's a very important thing to think about. So there's my philosophical sniper talk for the week. If you guys have any examples or stories you want to share with me, I'd rather avoid the negative. I think we can sit here all day and people can be like, but the sniper didn't know that. Why don't you just tell me about the good moments then? The moments where you supported a team, a group of players, or, you know, whatever, a group of randoms as a sniper, where you made sure that, you know, the situation that you were in and the action that you took actually enhanced everyone's enjoyment for that play session. Share those kind of stories down in the comment section below, and if you have any questions for me about my philosophical babble, leave them down in the comment section below. Go check out this Arma 3 showcase if you haven't. I know it's been around for a while, but a lot of people are ignoring it. It's actually fairly lengthy. It takes about 40 minutes to complete, but it is a hell of a lot of fun and a really great single-player marksman experience. I'll see you in the next one.